All right. So, chat. What does it say right there? Do you know what that says? Because that message right there is making me mad. So, right now, I'm really mad at Roblox because they added a feature where you have to check your thing. I tried to do it. It says, oh, you're no, you can't do this. Shut up. What? Like what? Bro. Like apparently I'm fake. Like so this is why I might be quitting. Um so today's stream's gonna be different. So we're gonna be looking at Hello Neighbor, like Hello Neighbor speed runs. Latest speed run is in like official Hello Neighbor is um well, this is the first one I see, so this is Alpha 1. Let's see how fast this is. Jeez, he did it like so fast, bro. Oh my god, that was fast. I'm gonna see what is hello and let's see what leaderboards. Dang, that's crazy. Also, by the way, um, I made a game. Uh, oh, so, um, yeah. Hello called Hello Neighbor uh Games oh remake. So in this stream, I'm going to um well let's just see. I just wanna see. Oh, snap. Wait. Uh archive. What? Bro, I don't even like wait, what? But it, hold on. I'm so confused. Okay, I'm doing this later. Uh, yo, chat, you want to react to something?
So recently, I've been getting a ton of comments on my YouTube.
Okay, bro, I'm not watching this. I'm not, bro. Bro, what is this? I swear, bro, every day, who sorts just get crazier, bro. Right. Hmm. I've always wanted to, like, the random. You know what? No, no, no. I'm gonna do this later. I'm gonna do everything. I'm just gonna. Uh, excuse me. What? I don't know what that is. What? Chat, bro. What should we react to? Okay, bro. What are these recommendations, bro? Um, Reload the website. Nothing to watch.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is based.
All right, chat. We're reacting to what happens if you blur and sharpen an image 1,000 times. Generally, I think that it just breaks the whole image.
So here's a random question with kind of a neat answer and a rather unusual use case. What happens if you apply a blur filter to an image followed by a sharpening filter and then repeatedly do that? Well, as you can see here, the image starts to degrade into a strange, high contrast, abstract design. While blurring and sharpening are opposites, they're not perfect inverses, and a blur filter causes permanent information loss since certain pixel patterns can produce the same blurred result. And sharpening can't recover lost information. It can only amplify whatever high frequency content remains after blurring. So as you repeatedly blur and sharpen an image, the image degrades into this neat looking pattern. Now, this assumes the patterns to the blur and sharpening filters are reasonably balanced. If one is significantly stronger than the other, it'll dominate this process and you won't get this result. But as long as they're reasonably balanced, this strange pattern will emerge. So, other than looking kinda cool, is there any point to this? Well, some of you may recognize this as looking similar to a Turing pattern, which is a concept developed by Alan Turing, the man known as the father of computer science. He introduced this idea in his 1952 paper, The Chemical Basis of Morphogenesis, which is his only paper in the field of biology. In this document, Turing proposed a mechanism to explain how certain patterns arise in nature, like spots on leopards or stripes on fish. The central idea was something he called a reaction diffusion system, where chemical substances spread through space and react with one another. In Turing's model, at least two substances are involved, typically an activator and an inhibitor. The activator promotes more of itself and the inhibitor, while the inhibitor typically diffuses faster and suppresses the activator. When the two effects balance, stable repeating patterns can emerge. So you can kind of see the analog here. The blur filter acts like diffusion, spreading values out, and the sharpen filter acts like reaction, amplifying differences and creating contrast. To give some weight to this idea, in 2015, artist and computer scientist Andrew Wirth published a paper showing how repeating the blur and sharpen operations mathematically fit the mechanism Turing discussed in his paper. And just to slightly contradict the analog I made a moment ago, he goes in depth about how the blur and sharpen operations map to Turing's ideas, and it's a little more complex than my oversimplification, but I'll link to the paper in the description if you want a more in-depth analysis. All of this is just to say this amusing way of degrading an image has a neat little use case in simulating Turing patterns. And, interestingly enough, many Photoshop actions that attempt to recreate Turing patterns use this mechanism under the hood. The earliest such occurrence I could find of this was a tutorial from 2013, and in its description it described this as an old trick, which makes me think this kind of use has been around for a while and emerged from experimentation. So anyway, next time you're bored and just randomly blurring and sharpening an image to pass the time, know that you're not just creating a cool looking image, you're also doing some interesting computer science. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching.
That's cool. Look at that. You can still see like the bridge and stuff though. Dang. Subscribe to this guy. Subscribe.
Ever seen an image that's actually made up of thousands of tiny pictures? It's called a photomosaic, and in this video, I'll show you an open source program I made that turns any image into one. I'll break down the algorithm behind it, demonstrate how to use the program yourself, give a brief history of the art form, and showcase some fun examples. If you want to jump to a specific section, check out the timestamps in the description. Photomosaics take their name from traditional mosaics.
Hmm.
Hey everyone, so just a quick warning, the illusion discussed in this video will involve parts of an image flickering.
Oh, it says if it is okay. All right. Hold on. 1080p.
So check this out.
Now, like 480p.
If you pause this
Oh, on 4-8. Oh, I can still kind of see it, kind of. Wait, quality, yeah, 180p. Then, what if we set it to like 0 2?
This video. The image.
Okay. What about 4? Oh, um, what about, yeah, 2?
Image you're seeing of the smiley face will disappear. It'll look something like this. It happens because the image is created from the moving part of the image. I thought it was a pretty cool illusion. There have been a couple.
Okay. Cool, I guess. Yo, chat, what should we react to?
You know, here in the streets of Boston, I've had people come up to me left and right since I've been here. Usually they do something like, or, you know, aren't you that guy? And so, you know, everyone thinks they're being very clever, but they all do one of 3 things, you know.
John Mashida's claim to fame is that the Guinness Book
What?
lists him as the world's fastest talking man, more than 500 words per minute. But his most memorable moments have been on television, in ads for Federal Express, and lately, Minute Rice.
Slice the green peppers, use them with your minute rice primavera, paella, or pilaf. Chop a chicken for cacciatore. Slice a steak for stroganoff. Plain, I personally prefer plain with the pat. Side dishes,
Fast, versatile minute.
At what point did you realize you had this gift? Well, when I was 12 years old, growing up on Long Island, there was a cerebral palsy fair a few blocks away from my house, and they announced that they would donate $2,000 to cerebral palsy for anyone that broke a Guinness record. So at first I wanted to ride the roller coaster at Coney Island, so I called Coney Island, and they said, hey kid, take a hike at 12 years old. We're not going to let you strap yourself into the cyclone for 2 weeks straight. So I went home and I started flipping through the book and decided I wasn't going to eat a car, swallow lead pipes. So the next best thing was to lock myself in a room and teach myself how to do the fast talking. I also grew up in a family with 5 sisters, so to get a word in edgewise, it was self-defense.
Mashida is currently on tour in professorial attire, promoting this spoof of academia. 4 years of learning condensed into 10 minutes of listening.
What?
So, but it's a neat little thing. It comes with fold-out, a curriculum, a little pocket-sized diploma. Once you graduate, you get to keep that. And it's orientation, biology, psychology, philosophy, political science, Roman studies, physics, visual arts, comparative literature, economics, and football.
Look what I whipped up with minute rice. Minute rice garden, medley, Chinese chicken, and seafood cacciatore. Maybe we'll move on to Mexican beef and minute rice and chicken amadine.
Do you ever, like, trip over a word or something there? I mean, do you...
Generally what will happen, especially if I'm doing
This
an
is how to
industrial...
make a fence in under 60 seconds. Add a cube, select these two faces, and delete them. Press S, then...
Every like.
This short gets adds 1 second to me swimming in this lake. Wait.
Every like.
Okay, if your coworkers are...
A fan once joined Markiplier's lobby and suspected it was him, so Mark decided to troll by denying everything, but the moment became unexpectedly wholesome.
Are you really Markiplier? Oh, yeah. I'm just baiting. You bitch! You bitch! You bitch! Oh, okay. Oh, oh, oh.
A fan once joined Markiplier.
I built a base out in the plains, made a potato farm and grew sugar.
Okay, bro, I don't know what this is. Dang, I have no idea what to watch. Oh, started. Wait. Today we're reacting to the most radioactive places on Earth. I don't know how to say your name. Sorry. What even happens in a place to be like flipping radioactive? Because at one point this was a normal building and something had to happen. Somebody probably got uranium poisoning or something.
overloaded.
Radiation is frightening. At least certain types of it are. I mean, my Geiger counter doesn't go off near my mobile phone or the Wi-Fi router or my microwave. That's because a Geiger counter only measures ionizing radiation. That is radiation with enough energy to rip electrons off atoms. And it's measured in units called sieverts. If you're exposed to more than 2 sieverts all at once, you'll probably die shortly after that. But we're exposed to low levels of ionizing radiation all the time. Bananas, for example, are rich in potassium, and some of that potassium is naturally radioactive. So when you eat a banana, you're actually exposed to about 0.1 microsieverts of radiation. That's 1/10,000,000th of a sievert. Let's use a banana for scale of radiation doses. You know, since people eat bananas...
Wait, how much bananas, bananas, do you have to eat until you die from radiation? 10 million to 50 million bananas at once? What? How much bananas are picked a day? 1.7 billion. That means that All right, chat, I'm back. Anyways, so I was gonna, it's 1.7 billion. So 1.7 billion divided by 60 million. So 20, like 28 people, if like, so this could happen to 28 people basically, because basically I would call, if you, I would say to like eat all your bananas in one day, because after one day it's gonna be rotten. So like 28 people, if they did this, like, actually no, actually I don't even know why I was doing this. Actually, never mind. Anyways,
we become radioactive too. So you're actually exposed to more radiation if you sleep next to someone than if you sleep alone. But I wouldn't worry about that, because that dose is insignificant compared to the natural background radiation of Earth. I mean, there's ionizing radiation coming out of the soil and the rocks and the air and even from space. The level of radiation here in Sydney is about 0.15 microsieverts per hour. And that's about average globally. The level's usually between 0.1 and 0.2 microsieverts per hour. But there are places with significantly higher levels. So who on Earth do you think receives the maximum dose of ionizing radiation? Let's answer that question by going to the most radioactive places on Earth. Some places you'd expect to have high levels of radiation might surprise you. I'm in Hiroshima, and that is the Peace Dome. It was about 600 meters above that dome where the world's first nuclear bomb was detonated over a city. It was detonated there to have maximum destructive impact. With a level of radiation today, almost 70 years later, is only 0.3 microsieverts per hour.
Here's a fun one. Guys, pretend like you're holding up the building behind you. Make sure. Yeah. That's
Okay,
great.
now give her
bro, I
How do
hate
y'all know each other?
cats. Like,
I'm about to get into an elevator. We're going down in a mine shaft. This is an old uranium mine.
This is the mine where uranium was discovered. It's also the place where Marie Curie obtained her raw material.
what? Wait,
1.7 microsieverts per hour. It's about 10 times the natural background that you would have. Nowadays,
wait, that could kill you. That could almost kill you. What?
most of the uranium has been removed. But in this wall, there's still a small piece, and you can see under UV light, it fluoresces. Look at that. Fluorescent uranium ore. This is the lab of Marie Curie. She won 2 Nobel Prizes, one in physics and one in chemistry. And she conducted a lot of her work here. And this is her office. She would have sat right there. Apparently there are only a few parts of this area which are still radioactive. One is this doorknob.
Well, it climbs not much,
But that's like 10 times the background.
yes, more than 10.
And another is the back of her chair. You can still detect alpha particles coming off this spot right here. Apparently after she was working in the lab, she would come, open the door, leaving traces of radium here, and then go and pull out her chair. Welcome to New Mexico. This is the Trinity bomb test site where the world's first nuclear bomb was set off. Right here, right in this spot. This whole area was vaporized. In fact, there was so much heat liberated by that bomb that it fused all of the desert sand into this green glass. And you can still find it here. They've actually named this mineral after the test. It's called trinitite. Yeah, this is the only place on Earth that this has ever been made. The level of radiation here is about 0.8 microsieverts an hour. The trinitite itself is a little bit more radioactive. I got readings of 2 or 3 microsieverts an hour off them.
That's what took you.
Now, which place has higher levels of radiation than anywhere we've seen so far? The answer is an airplane. You know, as you gain altitude, there's less atmosphere above you to shield you from cosmic rays. So the level of radiation inside the plane can go up to 0.5 microsieverts per hour at 18,000 feet, up to 1 microsievert per hour at 23,000 feet, over 2 microsieverts per hour at 33,000 feet, and over 3 microsieverts per hour at even higher altitudes and towards the poles. That is Chernobyl nuclear reactor number 4. It melted down on April 26, 1986. So what happened was so much heat was generated inside that reactor that it basically blew the top off, spreading radioactive isotopes throughout this whole surrounding area and over into Europe. And that is why we can still detect the contamination here today. Now right now it's reading around 5 microsieverts an hour. If I stayed here for 1 hour, my body would receive a similar dose to what you'd receive when you get a dental x-ray. So this is not a huge amount of radiation. And one of the reasons why the radiation level is not too high is because they actually removed a couple meters worth of topsoil from this whole area. Then they dumped it somewhere. That's why we can stand here. We're driving into the Fukushima exclusion zone now. I'm just watching as the levels on my Geiger counter go up as we approach the zone. See those black bags at the side of the road? The Japanese are doing now exactly what the people in Chernobyl did, collecting up meters and meters of topsoil. The mask is probably overkill. It's just to stop radioactive dust from getting into my lungs. This is definitely one of the most radioactive places where I've been. Even though the release of radioactive material was less than Chernobyl, only about 10%. Because it's much fresher, only 3 years since the accident, much less of it has decayed. So I've been getting readings up around 5 to 10 microsieverts an hour. And I think we won't be staying here for too long because of that. I'm about to go into the hospital at Pripyat, and this is where the firemen were taken after they fought the fires at the Chernobyl reactor. And in the basement of this building, they have left all of the firemen's clothing. Once they realized it was so contaminated, they chucked it down there.
What?
80.
But you can see there's a huge pile of that gear there.
Oh
Right
my.
outside the door, I'm getting 500 microsieverts an hour just outside the door.
What?
1,500 microsieverts an hour. You know, if we stayed here for a couple hours, we'd receive our annual dose of background radiation.
That basement was the most radioactive place I visited, and it's one of the most radioactive places on Earth. If I'd stayed down there for 1 hour, I would have received 2,000 microsieverts. That's a year's worth of natural background radiation. Every yellow pixel here represents a banana. Now that might seem like a lot, but consider that in a CT scan, the patient receives about 7,000 microsieverts. That's 3 years worth of natural background radiation. It's been estimated that the people living around Fukushima will receive an additional 10,000 microsieverts over their lifetime due to the nuclear power disaster. For comparison, US radiation workers are limited to a maximum of 50,000 microsieverts per year. But that's less than another occupation, astronaut. An astronaut on the space station for 6 months will receive about 80,000 microsieverts worth of radiation. But not even they are exposed to the highest levels of ionizing radiation. So can you guess who is? The answer is a smoker's lungs. A smoker's lungs, on average, receive 160,000 microsieverts worth of
What?
radiation every year. That's due to the radioactive polonium and radioactive lead in the tobacco that they're smoking. So not only are they exposed to carcinogens and toxins, they also receive very high levels of radiation. So it's not the people of Fukushima or Chernobyl or
Don't even smoke, bro. Like, never smoke.
radiation workers or even astronauts who receive the highest doses of ionizing radiation. That honor goes to your ordinary, average smoker.
Jeez, a smoker has the most radiation? Wow, bro, that's crazy. Don't smoke.
This piece right in my hand is the lightest and lowest density solid in the world. Even with a small pressure applied by my finger, the aerogel shatters into thousands of pieces and turns to dust. But what's...
Wait, forgot to, The Lightest Solid on Earth. You won't believe this exists. By Ruhi Senet Documentaries.
This piece right in my hand is the lightest and lowest density solid in the world. Even with a small pressure applied by my finger, the aerogel shatters into thousands of pieces and turns to dust. But what's surprising is that if I take those aerogel dusts and apply it to any surface, like my body, it becomes 100% hydrophobic. It makes me completely waterproof.
What?
On top of that, this dust also forms new, non-brittle foam-like aerogel composites, which can be utilized in extreme applications requiring protection. Aerogels can be in different shapes, given that they are 99% air.
Imagine you were, like, you were born and made of aerogel. Dude, you would resist it to water, not getting wet. Did he say that it's fireproof?
Waterproof. On top of that, this dust also forms new, non-brittle foam-like aerogel composites, which can be utilized...
Imagine being also made of that too. You would have been fireproof. That's crazy.
in extreme applications requiring protection. Aerogels can be in different shapes, given that they are 99% air. Can you guess the kind of sound would an aerogel make? It's like an empty can dropping onto a steel surface. Very metallic.
So aerogel is this really amazing material. It's the lowest thermal conductive solid in existence, or the best insulation in the universe. This is the same stuff NASA uses to insulate spacecraft, like the Mars rovers.
What is it made of?
It's just 99% air. In this case, that other 1% or so is amorphous silica. Pores are only a couple nanometers in thickness. To put that into perspective, the average pore size is around 1/10,000th the width of a human hair.
Oh yeah. Aerogel's insulation capabilities are not its only remarkable property. It also exhibits both hydrophilic and hydrophobic characteristics. How is it possible? Now we're gonna sprinkle some aerogel powder on the water. Notice how the aerogel doesn't sink. It's literally floating on the surface, creating a barrier. I'll put it in the water. It's in the water now. Thanks to the aerogel's super hydrophobic properties, the match is still dry and lit. Wow. It's amazing. The spoon is completely submerged, but it's completely dry. I'm going to put some particles on. I wonder what would happen if I apply it to my whole body. Would I be waterproof?
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's awesome.
These ball-shaped droplets are not actually touching my hand. There is a layer of aerogel powder between my skin and the water. go with my entire hand. Wow. Feels like magic.
Yeah, it really is.
But what we will see when I cover my whole body with these particles will blow our minds. You see the intense heat here? Let's start.
Why does this guy sound like a text-to-speech guy? Like, look what he's like.
Yeah, it really is.
But what we will see when I cover my whole body with these particles will blow our minds. You see the intense...
Did you hear that last part? Will blow our minds. Will blow our minds. Like,
It really is.
But what we will see when I cover my whole body with these particles will blow our minds. You see the intense heat
blow
here?
our minds.
Let's start. Oh my god, this one is half
Oh,
already.
it
As you
is
see,
fireproof.
this setup was much more effective in terms of protecting this hamburger, and this one is on smoke. You see the difference?
If this insulation is really that good, if you're using it to insulate spacecraft, why isn't it used to insulate everything here on Earth, right? From buildings to apparel. Turns out it has one major problem. I love that. That's beautiful. The challenge with aerogel since the beginning of time has been that this stuff is super brittle. And that's what we do at Oros Labs or SolarCore. How do you make it not brittle so that you could use it in whatever application?
So this is the solution you came up with?
That's correct. So this is a closed cell foam combined with aerogel.
Closed cell foams are made from silica substance with a structure consisting of tiny sealed air pockets. Before moving to the flamethrower test and test it on my entire body, we'll make one small trial with this foam. If that falls, I have to take my hand immediately.
Yeah, I'm quick. You ready?
You can crank it up as much as you want.
Oh my gosh.
So, you're seeing the impact on it. So, it's very cold here. I can touch it as much as I want, but here, it's also cold. It doesn't keep heat. But this one is hot. It melted, look. Look at the shape of it. We will test the aerogel shield by heating it to the maximum temperature that propane gas can reach.
You ready?
I'm ready. Whoa, whoa. I can feel some heat from the side, but nothing from the center. Can you get closer to me?
That's as close as I want him to get.
I can still touch it. The average temperature of the flames was around 1,200 degrees Celsius. For those unfamiliar, liquid nitrogen is extremely cold at a temperature of about negative 196 degrees Celsius.
It wouldn't be great if it came in contact with your skin. It would freeze your skin.
Then my hand will be shattered.
That's exactly right.
Before using liquid nitrogen on myself with my aerogel insulated jacket, let's see what this liquid nitrogen can do to something that's not protected by aerogel for comparison. This is the Leidenfrost effect. There's such a great temperature difference between liquid nitrogen and the floor that it literally can't get absorbed.
Dang.
Our next item on the list, a bunch of parsley, but this time, instead of submerging it, we'll directly spray liquid nitrogen on it.
Wow.
And we're gonna see what happens to this chicken.
Even the bones are shattered. This could be so dangerous then.
That's pretty dangerous.
Behind me, Mike is ready to spray the liquid nitrogen directly at me.
Okay. You guys ready?
5,
Okay.
You're good.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh. Oh. This is amazing. I don't feel it. Just on my pants because some droplets came to my pants, but that's alright. For my upper body, I don't feel anything. As you see, this ice is covering the entire lake. I'm going to apply particles of aerogel on my body, get in the water, and stay dry.
So no health problems, right?
No.
Okay. Feeling okay today?
Yeah.
You've obviously been in the water before, cold water.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. We have everything else set up just in case.
I have a bucket of powdered silica aerogel, and I'm evenly covering my whole body with that. Let's see if it can keep me dry even underwater. I'm completely submerging my body now. I am dry. This is a miracle, guys. Particles are blocking the water coming onto my skin. Feel nothing, nothing. Look at my leg. I'm in the water for quite some time, and it's dry. There are droplets on my leg. It is out of my leg. I don't even feel cold. I don't even need that. The water was kind of dark and muddy. That's why we couldn't see how my body looked underwater. I will get inside a pool now and you'll see how it actually looks underwater. Aerogel particles cause a thin gray layer because they trapped tiny air bubbles on my body. These air bubbles reflect skylight, giving my skin a shiny silvery appearance.
What?
You can notice some of these air bubbles coming off my legs and rise to the water surface. Air on my skin makes me feel lighter in the water. Completely dry. How is that possible? It's raining heavily now, but I don't get wet. Yeah. I might be the only person caught in the rain completely covered in hydrophobic aerogel particles. If you look at it carefully, there are rain droplets on the surface of the pool water. That means rainwater and the pool water never meet. There is a layer of aerogel between pool and the rainwater. The aerogel powder that I applied onto my body was hydrophobic, but this one is hydrophilic. Watch what happens when I drop water on this aerogel.
What?
Think of this like a small sponge. It can absorb 25 times of its weight. As this type of aerogel can absorb moisture from the air, they are used in museums to protect artifacts or to safely store medicines without exposing them to humidity. Last but not least, aerogel's nanopores are even way smaller than the visible light. The visible light ranges from 380 nanometers to 750 nanometers, while the aerogel's pores are only between 20 to 40 nanometers wide.
Shorter wavelength particles, blues, purples, UV light, get scattered when they hit aerogel, and that's what causes aerogel to look blue. Same reason the sky looks blue. It's called Rayleigh scattering.
When we expose an aerogel to ultraviolet light, which has the shortest wavelengths, it scatters the light better, making the aerogel appear opaque. Now when we switch to infrared light, which has the longest wavelengths of all, it passes right through the aerogel, making it appear completely transparent. When I hold it up to the sky, it looks yellow because it allows longer wavelengths of sunlight, such as yellow and red, to pass through more easily, especially in bright sunlight. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more documentaries.
Wow. All right. All right, next. Let's watch Vsauce. Apparently, this is the most confusing video.
The reality is I'm using multiple AI tools, but when it comes to writing, I trust Grammarly. Grammarly.
What is Random by Vsauce?
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here, and Derek, generate. 78? That's so random. Or is it? What does it mean to be random? Can anything really be random? What's the most random thing ever? Today, let's stop being random and become smart. If something is unpredictable and contains no recognizable patterns, we call it random. So let's begin our hunt for the most random thing with a coin toss. The Australian 50-cent coin is one of the largest coins currently in circulation. Coin flips and rolling dice are not intrinsically random. They are only random because of our ignorance. If we could know every initial condition, the exact forces and properties at play for a particular flip or roll, we could theoretically calculate the result before it even happened. And sure enough, researchers have built coin flipping robots that can precisely control a flip to get the result they want 100% of the time. So here is our question. Is there anything you couldn't predict even if you knew everything? A process determined by nothing? And how can you be sure there aren't any patterns in what you're looking at? Maybe you just haven't looked for the right pattern yet. Or maybe you have already seen true randomness but didn't know it because you didn't look for long enough. As if protected by a sort of camouflage, a random process can and will occasionally produce patterns. YouTube URLs are pretty much random. A unique one is made for every uploaded video, but sometimes, like the proverbial monkeys typing away on typewriters, YouTube generates a URL that contains, by chance, a word. The official music video for 50 Cent's In Da Club contains a synonym for bottom. This video was assigned hello. There are some sexies and a sauce. If you want to find out if a particular word has been randomly assigned to a video yet, you can search for it by using this string in Google. The point is, randomness is difficult to identify. It is easier to be certain that something is not random than that it is. But despite this elusiveness, something interesting is going on right now. Increasingly, we, especially young people, are calling clearly predictable things random. Like randomly running into your best friend at a popular restaurant, or hilariously bizarre combinations of things that we call totally random because they are seemingly unrelated, even though of course they were chosen not at random but in a very determined way because they are all unrelated. Those guys that showed up at the party last night you didn't know, they weren't randos in a mathematical sense. They knew about the party, were in the mood to go to a party, and were in the area. Pretty predictable, actually. This non-statistical use of the word random annoys some people, but it's not that far off from the original meaning of the word. In the 1300s, random meant running, or at great speed. Later, it would be used to describe things that had no definite purpose. It wasn't until the 1800s that random...
Wait, do y'all know that website that was at the start? It was random.org. Is that a real website? It's still a website? One. How do I get one on the first try? What? What? I got one on the... Wow. 9? Why is it only 99? 20. 1 in -1. Wait. 1E100. Oh. Okay.
took on a particular mathematical definition. Then, in the 1970s, MIT's student paper popularized the use of the word random to simply mean strange. Of course, just because something is strange doesn't mean it has no discoverable cause. Why have we started calling so many predictable things random? Well, many theories revolve around the amount of information and new people we are confronted with at an increasing rate, now more than ever before. Perhaps it's just easier, almost a bit of a relief, to call things random so that we can move on to synthesize other information. Take a look at this die. Now, as you can see, it rolls a 5 most of the time, but not all the time. Over time, a sequence of its results will contain less randomness, but it is still random. Any face is possible, and I have no guarantee beforehand of knowing which face will show up. The outcomes I'm selecting from make the resulting sequence less full of randomness, but the process is still random.
Hold on.
Even though a die and a coin are extremely sensitive to their initial conditions and over the course of normal use are quite unpredictable, they do over time exhibit certain biases. Biases that make them a bit more predictable and a little less random than you might think. First of all, dice. Even precision dice are only quality controlled within a few micrometers. You can check this out yourself. Make 2 stacks of 10 or more similar dice. Now, if you orient each die every which way, you should pretty much get 2 equally sized stacks. But if you arrange each stack along a shared axis so that every die faces the same way, any regular imperfections caused by the manufacturing process may become visible. But what about coins? Well, some fantastic research has been done on what happens when they spin and flip. For instance, it has been found that the US nickel is just the right diameter and thickness to wind up landing not heads up or tails up when flipped, but on its side about once every 6,000 times it's flipped. But what about the fairness of flipping a coin? Well, if you flip a coin like this, for statistical and physical reasons, the side facing up before the flip begins doesn't actually have a 50% chance of being the result. Instead, as researchers at Stanford have found, it actually has a 51% chance. In this case, it was the other side, though. Still pretty random. If you want a coin flip to be as fair as possible, you should just catch it in your hand. Don't allow it to hit the ground, bounce, tumble, and spin. That's because researchers have found that when a coin spins, larger biases come into play. The shape of its edge, its center of gravity, the heavier side tends to go down quite often. In the case of some coins, as often as 80% of the time. It's been found that a €1 coin will spin and land heads up more often than not, and a US penny will land tails up more often than not when spun.
That's so true. I flipped a penny like a lot of times. It just landed on tails. Like same with what is that 5-cent coin? Nickels. Same with nickels.
But like I said earlier, theoretically, if we knew everything about the initial conditions of a coin flip or a die roll, we could calculate beforehand their outcome.
Sorry, my headphones flipping dropped. Well, that's kind of embarrassing to be honest.